YouTube fam, welcome to Talking Crime. My name is Gina Marie Bova, and this is where I like to come to discuss solved and unsolved true crime cases, true crime facts and stats, and missing person cases that I don't feel have gotten enough attention from mainstream media. If you're interested in everything true crime, then you have definitely come to the right place. I do hope that you're going to choose to subscribe to this channel, and if you click the little bell next to the subscribe button, YouTube is going to notify you whenever I upload new content. Quick warning before we get started, my videos are not made for children, people with weak stomachs, or people who are easily offended. Look, I'm talking about true crimes here. Most of the details, photos, and language I'll be using will be graphic in nature. Therefore, viewers' discretion is most definitely advised. Ronald Lee Kidwell goes by the nickname One Eye. Yeah, you guessed it, he literally has one eye. When he was a child, 7 years old, he was attacked by a pit bull, lost an eye. Sadly, he probably deserved it. All too often we hear about evil-ass adults that would harm animals when they were children. I don't know for sure, I was not there, but what I do know is that he grew into one hell of an evil, poor excuse of an adult. Now, Kidwell had been in and out of jails since '95. Serving more than a total of 15 years behind bars. In '95, he was arrested and pled guilty to criminal trespass. For that, he served 30 days in jail and got 6 months of probation. And then he violated the probation and had to do the 6 months. In early '96, he was arrested and pled guilty for felony theft in Jackson County, Missouri. And he was given 2 years of probation, which, again, he messed up and it was revoked. And he had to do some time for that one. And that one was revoked because he was arrested for another felony theft. And so he had to do the time. Then in '99, he was again sentenced to 2 years in prison, again, for pleading guilty to possession of a controlled substance. And that was in Clay County, Kansas. Then in 2002, he was sentenced to 10 years in prison after he pled guilty to second-degree assault in Missouri. Now, according to the court records, he had sex with an acquaintance who then went to sleep. He grabbed a hammer and he hit her upside the head with it. She woke up. It didn't kill her, but she was injured, and he threatened to beat her to death if she didn't take off her pants. Now, let me mention that this lady was black, okay? Just to give some history. Normally I don't mention race because to me it's a non-factor, but knowing the race of the individuals is necessary to understand this full story, and it will make sense later. Anyhow, he had her take her pants off and he beat and raped her, and so ultimately he let her leave. And then she went and told, and he was arrested. So he was sentenced to 10 years. Now, I could not find anywhere that would tell me when he was released from that one. Anyways, Kidwell, white, and victim, black. Okay? Let's move on. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison in 2012. And then we come to where we're at for this story. MeShon Cooper-Williams was born in Oceanside, California on September 10th, 1975, and eventually moved to the Missouri and Kansas area. I do not know when, because unfortunately I can find very little about her on the internet. There was a handful of news reports that mentioned her in passing, since she ended up being the victim in this case. However, they focused on what they perceived as the newsworthy part. But I did locate her Facebook page that is still up and running. And that's where I was able to get to know her, even if just a little bit. She loved her son, she loved her cat, she had a huge network of family and friends, and they all loved her. She seemed like a really fun person to be around. She loved God and knew almost everybody that attended her church. She was a regular there. She did have her demons, though, just like everybody else. For her, they were trusting the wrong men and addiction. She was a very proud, strong, outspoken black woman who always seemed to have a smile on her face and never met a stranger. I'd like to read you something that she had written. Okay, here we go. Quote, "Feeling at peace with the woman I've grown into. We all have made mistakes. I'm not necessarily proud of mine, but I ain't ashamed either. I acknowledge them and embrace them because they helped mold me into the calmer, more loving, responsible, ambitious, resilient, confident boss bee that I am. I am not conceited, I just know who I am. Those are two completely different things. You got to go through some things in your life to learn your strengths and weaknesses. Get out of your own way so you can stop blocking your blessings and find peace within." Unquote. I couldn't agree more. MeShon found friends everywhere she went, people of all races and backgrounds. But like I said earlier, she did have a habit of trusting the wrong men. And one of those men that she trusted that she shouldn't have, she considered a friend and hoped it was leading to a relationship, was Ronald Kidwell, that piece of shit I talked about earlier. She would visit Kidwell at his place, drink, possibly get high, possibly have sexual relations with him as well. Kidwell seemed to genuinely like her, at least to her face. When she'd leave, though, the neighbors would hear him calling her a black bitch, the N-word, and that he wanted to kill her black ass. They were used to hearing his racist nonsense. He would preach white supremacy and power, brag that he was a member of the KKK on a daily, so they really just dismissed his shenanigans. I wish somebody would have warned MeShon. MeShon struggled with her health over the years. She was diagnosed with lupus and had to have a kidney transplant. She was legally disabled, but she was a social butterfly who couldn't just lay around the house. So she went and got a part-time job at Subway so that she could socialize and meet new people. She was last seen leaving work on July 6th. When she failed to call or show up for a family event, they knew something was wrong. Panic spread when they realized nobody had seen her since the 6th, and she wasn't answering any calls or text messages. She needed to take daily medication, and she wouldn't have just disappeared without telling anyone. So her family went and reported her missing, and that's when they found out that MeShon's car was found on the 7th, just 13 hours after she was last seen leaving work. It was abandoned in a Kansas City park, unlocked, and the engine was still running. Police and volunteers had searched for days in hopes of finding MeShon alive and well. Police ended up having to put a trace out on her phone and see where it last pinged, and they were lucky and they obtained the address of where it was currently located. So on July 14th, with a search warrant in hand, police went and knocked on that front door. The man who answered that door was Ronald Kidwell. At first, he said he had no idea who MeShon was. Then he said he knew her, but he hadn't seen her in days. And then finally, he admitted something that would shock the police. He said, "What I'm about to tell you will probably make it so I never get out of prison." And then he just pointed at his garage. Police officers made their way over to the garage, and sadly, they found MeShon's body. She was in trash bags and then placed in a trash can. They placed Kidwell under arrest, obviously, and some of the officers took him down to the station for questioning, and other officers spoke to the neighbors to canvass to see if there was any information that they could get to help the case. One witness told them that if he did anything to her, it was because she was black, because he hated black people. Another said that she wanted to stay anonymous, but she stated that MeShon had been visiting with both her and Kidwell on the 6th after she had gotten off work. They ran out of beer, so he wanted to go do a beer run, and he left to go get beer. MeShon stayed with this anonymous witness, and they just hung out bullshitting for a while. And then Kidwell came back with the beer, and MeShon went into his house with him. And her friend never saw MeShon leave his home and has not seen her since. According to this witness, the next day, Kidwell had come and knocked on her door and asked if he could borrow a few very large trash bags and a handsaw. Well, she obviously had no idea why, and she didn't even know she was missing at the time. She thought it was an odd request, but she had the stuff and she wanted to be neighborly, so she gave it to him. And she was crying later when she told the police, quote, "If I would have known what was going to happen, I would have never let her leave with him. This was a hate crime, definitely a hate crime. Her family didn't deserve this. MeShon didn't deserve this," unquote. During his interviews with police, Kidwell claimed that the two had gotten in an argument after they had been drinking for some time, during which he stated that MeShon threatened to tell everybody that he was HIV positive, and after saying that, she pulled out a knife from her purse and tried to stab him. Kidwell said he struggled for the knife, got control, and stabbed her to death. Now, you got to remember that this is his story. It doesn't make it the truth, okay? And with his history, I don't believe shit he says. For all we know, that nutless wonder attacked another sleeping woman. Only this one, unfortunately, didn't get the chance to walk away from it. If they actually did argue, my guess is that they had some type of sexual contact and somehow she found out that he was HIV positive, which would be very upsetting to anybody. Now, statements from other people that knew him said that he would go around bragging about luring unsuspecting women. I'm sorry, that was a tongue twister for me. Anyways, he was bragging about luring unsuspecting black women, not disclose that he had HIV, and then not using protection during sex just so that he can intentionally infect them. From a psychological standpoint, I am guessing that he thinks that he contracted HIV from having unprotected sex with a black woman, and now he feels justified in attacking as many as he can. Kidwell bragged to officers that, quote, "When I get mad, I make the exorcist look like a bitch," unquote. No, Kidwell, you look like the bitch. You have to go the punk route and attack women when they're sleeping and rape them. You're a fucking coward. And I hope that you get that same treatment every single day of what's left of your pathetic life. It's really too bad that people only took your eye, could have done a world a favor and took your life, but I digress. That's me just going on a little rant, sorry. He had a daughter that was either taken from him or he gave her up for adoption when she was younger. I'm not sure which. But he only had her for a part of her childhood. Her name is Crystal Foster, and she is all grown up now. She disowned her father long ago. She has nothing but awful memories of him. She hates that her father has a swastika tattoo on his arm, poses pictures with a Confederate flag draped around his shoulders, tells anybody that'll listen that he's a KKK member, and regularly speaks about attacking anybody of color. She is quoted saying he's been a monster his whole life. He's the true definition of evil. She said that Kidwell even threatened to kill her and her children if she so much as even spoke to anybody that wasn't white. She has never agreed with his views and never wanted a relationship with her dad because he stood for everything she stood against. Good for her. Too often people blame their upbringings and people in their lives for their own hateful views. So this is awesome to hear. I never ever have understood racism and bigotry. No human being is better or worse than another just because of their DNA. The fucking arrogance and ignorance involved is beyond me. And so I'm thankful for that as well. Kidwell has been locked up ever since his arrest. He's been charged with second-degree intentional homicide, and the FBI is investigating to see if they're able to add a hate crime to the charges. He's been in and out of prison for such a long time. Hopefully this time, the only way he gets out is in a box. He is still awaiting trial at this time. Now, this crime happened in 2018, and it's now 2023, so you might be wondering what's taking so fucking long. Well, his next hearing is scheduled for June 6th of this year, and it's taken this long because this moron has pretty much been playing the system as best he can. He's not a rocket scientist, so, he's doing the best he can with the 2 brain cells that he has. He's fired 3 or 4 of his attorneys. He has each time had to go to court and ask for permission to do that. He's also motioned for the judge to recuse himself. That was denied, and now he's motioned for that again. He's also motioned for a change of venue, which means a different court in a different town. That was denied, I believe, twice. These are just a bunch of frivolous requests. These motions, the court has to address them. And I get why they have to do that, but every time it just keeps pushing the trial further and further back. As long as he's not out, that's just more time him sitting there. So I really don't give a fuck. It would just be nice for it to be over so the family can have that closure, you know? I feel like they're just waiting, you know? It's a waiting game. And I think he's a scared little bitch. He's afraid to go to death row. My man says that Texas don't play, and I hope he's right. I hope that there's an update very soon about his sentencing or etc. I will come back with an update as soon as I find one or hear of one. But until then, this video is pretty much over. I would rather not talk about him much more. I feel bad for her family, and I feel like people like him should just get put down, especially when they admit to doing it, but that'll never happen. I hope that you will subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Maybe leave a comment down below. Tell me what you think of the case, and I will respond. I always respond to all my comments. I will be back in a few days. I'm not gonna promise what day a week, but I'm gonna still try to be more consistent. It's difficult with MS. I never know what each day is gonna bring, and my life is pretty chaotic and hectic. You just never know. But I do know that I'm not gonna make you guys wait another 2.5, 3 months like I did before the last video. I'm going to be much more consistent, is all I can say. I hope you guys will be back soon to watch and maybe like the video, and I hope to see you guys back here real soon. Till then, y'all stay safe out there.